And I want to talk about that and kind of break that amendment down, because there's different aspects of it. There's the well-regulated militia part versus, keeping and bearing arms. But before we get there, one of the things that I think is really neat that your organization does, that I want you to touch upon a little bit, is that you guys actually go out to local businesses in the community, partner with them, let them know what your organization is about, and see if they will allow you as a patron to walk into their establishment while you're open carrying.
Yeah. And this is huge. And let me just tell you, if I know you have 5 children. I've got a wife and 3 children, and we believe in trying to patronize the businesses in our local community. We use a small neighborhood pharmacy that's 5 times as far from us as the CVS is, but we believe in supporting the local merchants.
Sure.
And in this economy especially,
right, times
are tough. When we go to a business, for example, this is sort of a sore thumb with us right now, but my kids and I go to the Big Walk on Sepulveda in Manhattan Beach for food fairly regularly. Okay. It's a great Mongolian barbecue. We love the people. We have personal relationships with the wait staff. I went and organized a dinner for there, and I told them we were going to have 70-plus people. And I did that 2 months in advance.
Okay.
As soon as we published it, the location and the date, because they were thrilled to have 70 people come on a Thursday night, and fill the place up.
Right.
The Brady Campaign Against Gun Violence exercised their First Amendment rights in a tactless way.
Right.
They called the owners. They threatened. They threatened to picket outside the business if he allowed us to come in and dine. They called representing themselves as Manhattan Beach residents. They claimed that they would basically destroy his business, and they would have the press come and write negative articles, because unfortunately, the press is really not that, they're not that pro 2A. Some of them are pretty impartial. You can get a good shake from a few of them, but from the majority, there was always that slant that nobody should carry guns.
Right.
And I got a call from the owners of the Big Walk, and they were just, browbeaten by the Brady campaign, and they asked us not to come because they were afraid that it would damage their business, their livelihood.
Right.
And, instead, we went to the China Grill, which is another restaurant that my family and I frequent, and that night, other than ourselves, there were 4 other people dining. We made that night for that owner.
Sure.
And it was a big night. I mean, it's not it's not an expensive restaurant, but it's not a cheap restaurant.
It seems like a win-win. I mean, if I was a business owner, I would love the idea of having 70 people.
Businesses love it until they are threatened with the loss of their livelihood.
Right.
And when the Brady campaign threatens, they really let them know that they're going to do long-term, long-standing damage. And that's the part that I respect the Brady campaign's First Amendment right to picket. Right. I respect their right to have their opinion.
Sure.
However, I think their time would be better spent really trying to combat violent crime. Statistically, there's no sighting or case anywhere of anybody in an open carry movement committing a violent crime.
Right.
And certainly not while open carrying.
Absolutely. And for those who are listening who are unfamiliar with the Brady campaign, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's named for Mr. James Brady, who was injured during the assassination attempt of Ronald Reagan. In 1981, and now they're very strong opponents of Second Amendment rights. It seems to me that, and we were talking about this earlier, but here are these people, as you say, exercising their First Amendment rights, which they have every right to do, obviously, but they are protesting your rights. And it seems to me, logically speaking, that if you value liberty, if you value freedom, then you have to be like that across the board, meaning you have to be willing to, even though, and I've used this analogy on the show before, because I believe in liberty, I believe that if my next door neighbor is a Klansman and wants to burn a cross on his own front yard, well, you know what? He has the right to do that. I may not like it, and guess what? I can move.
Right.
But the second that you stop somebody from exercising their rights, then your own rights are basically in jeopardy of being taken away.
Well, our rights are being attacked on a daily basis.
Sure.
They're eroding. And as you said in your opening, if you don't exercise your rights, you will lose them.
Right.
And that is one of the reasons that we open carry. Because if we don't, it will go unnoticed, but it will go away. And it is just, it's such a great sadness in the country that we've really lost focus of the founding fathers and what it meant when this country was founded. And when the country was founded, the big concern when they set up the federal government was they wanted to make sure that states had rights, that the federal government could not take away the states' rights.
Sure.
And most people don't know, but in California, if you're, I believe it's within the age of 16 to 58, and I could be wrong about the top number there, you are in the militia.
Mm-hmm.
California has a never talked about standing militia or non-standing militia. But that is the one part of the Second Amendment that I think gets so much controversy, whether there's a militia or not a militia.
Right. Well, that's definitely something, again, the Second Amendment obviously has different areas that I want to discuss, the militia being one of them. Obviously, that's, I believe, part of the controversy that exists. I also, when we come back from the break, I'd like to talk about some of the businesses that you've had success with in the community that have embraced the idea of Second Amendment rights that you are currently patrons of. And just want to talk about that whole experience. This is great. Again, for those just tuning in, we're with Peter Yollin of the organization South Bay Open Carry. We're discussing Second Amendment rights. If you hear anything that strikes your curiosity, if you have any questions with regard to Second Amendment rights, we're not lawyers, but I believe Peter may have a little bit of insight, especially if you live here in the state of California. Studio line here is 323-247-7443. We would love nothing more than to hear from you, so please give us a call. We'll be back. We're going to take a break. This is Shot Heard Around the World. I'm your host, Adam Cole. See you on the other side. Good evening and welcome back in. We are close to the second hour here. Shot Heard Around the World. Studio line is 323-247-7443. If you're just tuning in, we are engaged in a very powerful conversation, entertaining. I don't know. I'm having a really good time here with Peter. It's a pleasure to know you, and you're so insightful with regard to the Second Amendment and the organization that you represent. I think it's awesome. It's very inspiring to me, I know. And as we often say, a lot of the best stuff usually happens during the break, and that's when we're just really candid and we're really discussing stuff. We got to find a way to catch that, put it on the B-roll footage, if you will. But before we went to the break, we were talking about the businesses that you've partnered with, the local-based businesses that have allowed you to wear your firearm inside of their businesses. What are some of those businesses, and how has your relationship grown with those businesses since you've become a patron? Obviously, they've experienced some revenue as a result of the partnership, which is a good thing from a business owner standpoint.
Well, one of the things that we do is, first of all the businesses that we go to for let's talk about our lunches and our regular dinners.
Right.
Those are all restaurants that our members go to, they patronize on a regular basis, and they open up those relationships for us. But we're also very active in making sure that the guys that are part of SBOC, South Bay Open Carry,
sure,
that if they like those restaurants, they go back and patronize them on their own time.
Right.
So that it's not just a one-night deal for us. And it's been great. I mean, every restaurant that we've gone to has gotten really a huge bump afterwards. And we'll have postings on our Facebook page. I had such a great time at China Grill, went back for lunch 2 days later. You got to go back for lunch, lunch specials. It's a real thing. So it's really good for these restaurants. It's really good for these businesses.
Right.
And they have really, I think every time we have patronized a business, we have filled it up. We had lunch at the Thai Bistro on Artesia, and I think it's Redondo at that point. And we filled the restaurant up, and I can tell you, I probably know of 10 or 12 of our members that have been back since, including myself, to eat there. China Grill's experienced it. I can't remember the patio, Old Town Patio in El Segundo. Great little bar, sandwich place, great chili. Same thing. I've been back there a couple of times just because of my experience. And we try to ask our members to let them know that we're part of South Bay Open Carry when we go there. Let them know that they're getting some residual business from our visits. Because in the current environment with people like the Brady campaign, for some of these businesses, it really is a pretty bold move to say, I support the Second Amendment,
right,
and I'm going to let you guys come in, and it's okay if you picket. And Tony's on Aviation, another pizza place, has been great. They almost would welcome, the pickets, and we fill that restaurant up. And Brick Oven had a great night.
They say any publicity is good publicity, I suppose.
Yeah, but there's no place that we have had a function where we've not been invited back. It is, and I think that says a lot to the restaurant owners, but it also says a lot for our group. We make sure that we're always polite. They're attentive. They tip well. We're not abusive, and it's just a bunch of regular guys and gals. The only difference is that we're exercising our Second Amendment and we're open carrying.
Right. When you go to these restaurants, now I'm assuming at this point it's only been restaurants just because of the ability to be social with people, like-minded people who are exercising their rights. When you first go to these restaurants, now are you just walking in carrying with the assumption that they're going to be fine with that, or do you? Okay,
sure.
And so overwhelmingly, or would you say the majority of the reaction that you get, is it positive, or do people say, hey, get out of here, you can't?
So far it's always been positive. I don't think we've been asked to leave any place. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, because as this organization has grown, our board has only been together for about 3 months or so, our board of directors.
Right.
And when we formed the board, that's when we really began our move towards becoming a 501c3 charity, so that we can really take strong action in defending, pro 2A issues. And we even look at candidates, we look at everything. But one of the things that we did was, because we make T-shirts and we sell them to raise money, we're selling our memberships to raise money. Well, we needed to have a bank account that was not Harley's bank account, the guy who started it.
Sure.
So we went to Chase Bank in the Manhattan Village Mall. 4 of the board members. We walked in open carrying, sat down
into a bank.
A bank.
Right.
Yeah. Worked with a banker, and we needed to set up our tax ID number, which we hadn't done ahead of time. And he thought the banker we were working with thought that he might be able to do it, but he had to call the bank manager to see how it could be done. So the bank manager came in. And as we're sitting there talking and he's getting an overview of what our organization is, I finally said, just to be clear, none of us are law enforcement officers. We're private citizens just like you who choose to exercise our Second Amendment rights by open carrying firearms. And really, without missing a beat, he looked at us and said, well, this is probably the safest bank you could be in anywhere right now. Nice. And he loved it. And he didn't make it, but he was going to try to make it to our dinner, because our dinner was either the next Thursday or the following Thursday, in that same center. But they were very pro 2A. I go into Wells Fargo, which is my bank, open carrying all the time. In fact, I stopped there tonight at the ATM machine. And as it was raining and it was dark, a couple of the people were leaving. The bank was closed, and they just waved and walked by.